I work with Clinique Somnomed, and I also work with Miriam here at Clinique Santé Physique. We perform sleep studies here overnight, and I also go to people's homes and I do this as well. I do it in universities, I do it in hospitals, everything. So I developed a little bit of some information on how to improve your sleep, but I also want to speak about what is good sleep, what is poor sleep. Like when I'm looking at it, what am I looking at? What is a doctor looking at? So this is essentially what I'm looking at during the night. I know it doesn't mean anything to you guys. Essentially, these squiggly lines are your brain, your eyes, chin, heart, legs, breathing. There's hundreds of these pages during the night. It's all on the computer. I look at it, I send it to the doctor, and we get kind of a summary of what your sleep is. So good sleep looks like this. Hopefully, excited? Yeah. What does it look like? We'll find out on the next slide. Okay. So again, it looks a little bit technical, but it's not so much. I want you to kind of pay attention to these like circle parts here on the top and on the bottom. If we break it down to one section here, one section here, another section, and another section, we have 4 cycles of sleep. So a normal sleep is made up of 4 cycles of about 90 minutes each. So if you're sleeping well, you have no issues, this is what your sleep should look like. And it's called a hypnogram. So next slide, please. This is an example of, it kind of looks similar to the other one, but we have all these this stuff happening here. This is like sections of a person being awake during a night. This is like their whole night. These green dots are arousals. An arousal essentially is in that kind of squiggly portion of the EEG in the back. Your brain wakes up for a few seconds. So it wakes up enough to kind of throw you out of sync. You're not going through those cycles of sleep. You're kind of, this is like completely horrible sleep. We're missing deep sleep here. The person's only staying in like lighter stages of sleep. If you look at the next one, this person has a more severe respiratory issue, and we see that it's completely off from the original one, where we don't have those cycles. We just kind of have a few of the red portions, but a lot of like randomness happening. So if we go to our next slide, I want to talk about a few bad habits that can lead to those kind of fragmented sleep. So we were discussing earlier about cell phones, laptops, and TV. So it's really recommended to stop all those things at least 30 minutes before bed. There's a lot of like cell phones and tablets with like blue filter available. It's still not enough because it still throws your circadian rhythm out of sync, and that's enough to fragment your sleep during the night. If you stop at 30 minutes before bed, you should be able to regulate yourself. Another bad habit that people have is drinking coffee and alcohol after 3. So coffee, as I brought coffee here, I know it's a bad thing. But if you're prone to bad sleep, drinking it after 3 is a stimulant. It's enough to kind of prevent you from falling asleep, and it might be enough also to wake you up out of sleep. Alcohol being sedative, it's kind of got the opposite effect. Well, it might help you fall asleep, but any events that you're having, any respiratory events, are more severe with alcohol in your system. So those are things to avoid. Next slide, please. So these are just a few very generalized sleep tips. Consistent sleep and wake times. You want to be doing that also on the weekend, as best you can. Go to bed at 10, wake up at 6, or whatever works for you. Next. So that is to ensure that you're giving yourself enough time to sleep. The standard is about 8 hours. That's not the case for everyone. Some people sleep 10, some people sleep 6. Whatever is your number of sleep, you want to ensure that you're giving yourself enough time to have it. And what might help you, next, is bedtime routine. That's kind of going with the no TV, no cell phone, reading a book, music, podcasts, even just doing nothing for a while, meditating, might help, especially if you're prone to not being able to sleep properly. It's really important that you keep those like 30 minutes to yourself. So, next slide. So if you have insomnia, it might be due to a sleep disorder. So I think Homer has sleep apnea. So this is probably why he falls asleep during the day. So insomnia is a symptom of sleep apnea. So if you just click on the next one, the next one as well. If you sleep apnea, I don't know if you know what it is necessarily. It's you stop breathing during the night. It happens periodically, and it can happen enough times where it throws your sleep out of whack. It's all fragmented, and you also have your oxygen levels that can dip during the night. Insomnia is a byproduct of sleep apnea. Now, next slide. This can lead to certain disorders like the following. We have sleep deprivation, obviously, poor concentration, memory, anxiety issues, snoring, weight gain. That might not be in a period of a week. We're talking about sometimes years of people suffering from both sleep apnea and insomnia, both together or separately. These are the effects that they can have. So the next slide also talks about common sleep complaints. We have, you wake up to urinate, you might actually have to urinate, you might not have to, but you just feel like you need to get up to do so. You wake up and can't fall back to sleep is a common one. Discomfort, that can be many things. Usually it's kind of that shifting around. I can't find that position that you fall asleep in, and it's a constant struggle. Headache, either during the night or in the morning. I added sleep hallucination and paralysis. It's not common, but if you have a really severe bout of insomnia and a lot of stress, that's something that can happen. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that. Yeah, it's really it's really brought on by stress. So, next slide. So, first and foremost, when you speak to your physician, you want to say, is it due to a sleep disorder, like sleep apnea? There are other sleep disorders as well. What we need for a diagnosis is a study. So the study is this, a polysomnography. So what we're looking at your brain waves, kind of like those squiggly lines I showed on the second slide. Brain waves, facial movement, eye movement, your chest, your actual inhale and exhale, the effort of that. Your breathing, how much air you're exhaling, inhaling, your oxygen level, leg movements. With this, you can find a physical reason as to why you're not sleeping well. You've done this, let's hope. You've seen your doctor, had a study done. You still have issues. You have insomnia, and there are certain types of insomnia. So I'll bring this to the next slide. These are the three main types. We have, insomnia is defined as these 3 times a week. Primary insomnia means it's distinct from being a symptom from something like sleep apnea or another sleep disorder. Psychophysiologic insomnia is due to certain associations that you have towards sleep, negative associations that prevent you from sleeping. And that brings me to my next slide. So if we look at the duration, there's acute and chronic. A lot of people can be in this category of suffering from insomnia, but not for that long. And then there's also a fair amount of people who have it for 6 months or longer. Next slide. So I just want to kind of lightly, this is not, it's just a bit of information on the thinking associated with insomnia sometimes. Not everyone, but for whatever reason, there's a stressor, there's a catalyst to the insomnia. Due to stress, pain, a significant life event, whatever happened, you can't sleep. So this can lead to negative thinking. And when I say negative thinking, this is just an example. You're in bed, you're trying to sleep. Oh, if I don't sleep now, I won't do well tomorrow. Oh, it's been all week, I haven't been able to sleep, I can't sleep anymore, I don't know how to sleep. These negative thoughts lead to anxiety, apprehension. It's all in your mind, you're thinking it, but then your body starts experiencing it. You start getting muscle tension from that. You start feeling, okay, this is just, I'm not going to sleep, I can't sleep. That leads to sleeplessness. And then also associating your surrounding with the fact that you can't sleep. So you start getting into a cycle of negative thoughts leading to your environment. It's my bed, it's my bed partner, it's my bedroom, which leads to further sleeplessness. So this is just kind of an example of one possibility. How negative thoughts, again, is not for everyone, but I think everyone has probably had a night like that. You're like, okay, I need to sleep right now in order to get at least 5 hours because I have X to do during the day. When you have chronic insomnia, this is constant, doesn't it? So this is kind of the only thing, these are the things I want to touch on a little bit today. Let's click again. Go back. Okay. I'm supposed to start the video. Okay, so
apparently I'm a bad AV person.
that's okay, we're almost near the end of this one. So I just want to show a little bit of this article from the CDC for the health benefits of sleep. And I think you're here today because you realize it's an issue, it's something that is important to have in your health. What this article looks at is, okay, it's just gonna go. So it's kind of gonna explain a little bit of the secondary effects. So long-term sleep, when it's not treated, when you have sleep issues, it affects your immune system, can lead to things like hypertension, diabetes, heart disease, neurological issues as well. And I just wanted to kind of emphasize that it's one aspect. So if you treat your sleep, you still have a poor health, diet, exercise-wise, you're still probably going to suffer. I'm not afraid. Hello. So you need to have that holistic effect. So we often, when I see people in the clinic, they'll treat their sleep with sleep apnea, let's say. For sleep apnea, they'll treat it with CPAP. But they still come to me, I'm suffering. I'm like, okay, what else can we look at? Like, what else, where can I refer you? Where can we see the doctor? We need to see another physician. Essentially, it's not just your sleep that needs to be looked at, it's everything. So that's all I have really to show you guys. If you have any questions, please. Oh, and there'll be consults available here in January 2019.
So I have a question. I mean,
Yes.
obviously exercise is beneficial, but I've heard varying opinions on when to exercise. Exercising late in the day, I've heard
Like how it affects your sleep.
how it affects that can actually disrupt your sleep. Some people say it has no effect at all. Type of exercise. What's your take on that?
I really do see people in the whole gamut. I find people who work out at night find they sleep better because they're tired and they can sleep better.
Even if it's close to their
Even
sleeping?
if it's close to their bedtime.
Okay.
However, there are some people that are more sensitive to that whole like endorphin rush that it'll prevent them from falling asleep. I pretty much tell people do what works best for you. There's not an ideal time. It's not like you're gonna burn more calories at night versus the morning. If you can work out at night and sleep, that works for you. If you can, then find times during the day in the morning.
So it's basically trial and error. There's no
There's not one
definitive
no.
time to exercise that will disrupt your sleep.
No, not like I said. If it's free, if you've tried exercising before bed and it has affected your sleep, just work out in the morning. It's done. There's not one tried and true recommended way.
Okay.
For people that have younger kids, because I know that you mentioned that 30 minutes before bed is the time that you should, you know, start winding down. Sometimes kids can you know, not agree with you. Like, is there something that you can do, like, with the kids or as a family that can help to calm down so that everybody gets a good night's sleep?
So, I'm just going to give an example of what I do, and a lot of parents I know do as well. Story time is a big calm down effect. Story time that lasts about 20 minutes. So it's not just one story, it can be 5 stories. But you're there, you're reading. You're not on a tablet, you don't have the TV running. Like, it's okay to have that TV running up until that point where it's story time. Like, we all live in that kind of environment, right? Either listening to the news or catching up on a story that we like. But you need to have a little bit of time that's towards, okay, I'm gonna brush my teeth, we're gonna get in bed, we're gonna read a story, we try to go to sleep. And also, the thing with kids is that I have 2 young ones, I have one who's 5 and one who's 2. The baby sometimes wants to be rocked. Now, that's fine. You can rock your baby every now and then, but if your baby gets used to you rocking them to sleep, they're not going to develop the ability to sleep on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important, especially when they're young, to kind of like let them be, let them try to find what they need to do. Whether it's like get on their side and hold their tutu, whatever works.
Work it out. They have to figure it out sometime.
Definitely.
Are there habits that you should be giving your kids? Like, I know that there's some people where if you go over, you can't ring the doorbell, you can't call them between this time and that time. They don't clean, they don't do anything. I'm Italian, they ran the vacuum, the TV, the doorbell, and blender all at the same time, so.
I'm more of the side of like, you have to live your life as well. But I can also understand if parents have been suffering with a colicky baby for like 2 years, and they're just like, I need to sleep. Do not call me. I can understand where that's coming from.
Oh, but I meant during the kids' nap time. Like, if you're overly protective of their nap time,
I can understand where they're coming from too. But it's also important, like we were saying about getting that kid to establish how to fall asleep on their own.
Okay.
Because if the kid can only sleep in absolute silence, absolute darkness, that's the only way they're going to be able to sleep in the future. That's not always possible.
Service for later.
Yeah. So.
What if you need the TV to fall asleep, just to get your mind to stop thinking?
Up until half an hour before bed is what I would recommend. Especially if you're sensible to waking up. Like, do you wake up a lot?
My sleep cycle is about 90 minutes.
Okay.
So I will wake up 90 minutes, 2 hours,
Okay.
sometimes to go to the bathroom, but I fall right back asleep. I can go right back to sleep. At that point, the TV's not on any longer. It's on a timer. But to fall asleep, I need the TV. It just stops me from thinking.
If you have no issues with your sleep, like getting, once you wake up, you can easily fall back asleep, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's what you use, it's okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, I'm not saying you should never do it. But if there is time in your life where you're having trouble, that might be one thing you want to cut out for that week or that period of time. It's just that it's one extra element that's throwing your sleep off the 90-minute cycle.
Does the glow of the TV interfere with your melatonin?
Any light will affect it. Kind of those like hypnograms I was showing you, it's not so severe. But for somebody who's more sensitive to it, it can be. So like,
So would music be better than TV, let's say?
music, podcast, reading is the main thing. Like, you still have a lamp, right, when you're reading. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
you still have some light. But you want to get like a lower wattage light bulb.
No, but but I need the TV.
You need that like
on
visual,
to
the auditory.
I don't watch. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just,
you need the auditory, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
If any,
I know I feel like so many people people say the same thing. You
A
must
lot
hear
of
this
people.
all the time.
But I grew up with it as well. Like we're used to having that media there. If you're not having issues, honestly, I think it's fine. And it's not necessarily going to throw your sleep out of whack completely. It's for those times when you can't sleep, for whatever reason.
When I can't sleep.
When you can't sleep. If you're having a week
But
where...
I wouldn't be able to sleep without the TV.
But if, let's say you had your TV, but you're waking up and you can't go back to sleep
I
for whatever
understand.
reason,
Okay.
that might be one thing you want to look at.
Okay.
For that time,
Right.
then you can go back to it.
I have a question that's along the same lines. I have a
Mhm.
lot. My parents gave me a list. My parents are in their 70s, so they couldn't make it tonight, but they wanted to.
They were asleep.
Yeah. No, well, in front of the couch, or in front of the TV on the couch. So this is what
Okay.
they do every night. They go to bed, or they look for, and I'm starting to do it too now. It's like the end of the evening, after dinner, 9 o'clock.
Fall asleep
Routine.
on the couch.
Sit in the chair, fall asleep in front of whatever's on television. Wake up at about 11:30. Crawl up to bed, get washed up. Then you wake up again, right? And then you have a hard time falling asleep. Then you take a sleeping pill. So it's this weird routine where they love their time, where they just zonk out, no issues in front of the television. But then as soon as they get ready to go to bed,
It disrupted their sleep completely.
yeah. And so my dad's question is, does the time that he falls asleep in front of the couch count?
Well, yeah, because it sounds like they had that one cycle.
So it
from
does
9
count,
to
even though the
11:30.
television's going and they're not comfortable, they're not in the right position.
Well, it's not good because then they wake up for like, what? They're up for like 45
Probably,
minutes,
yes,
an hour
to
before
try
they
and
get back
yes.
to sleep again. That's the disruption.
But it still counts as their total hours of sleep.
Yeah,
for the
but
night?
disrupted sleep.
Disrupted sleep. Okay.
We don't want it to be disrupted. That's the thing. You want those cycles to be one after another. So
One after the other,
obviously it'd
okay.
be a lot better if they sleep in their room
Get them to bed.
right
Right.
away.
Okay, and then. Okay, I'm sorry. That answered the question. Can I ask another question?
Sure, of course.
Then they're particularly wanting to know if there's anything they can do to help with the urge to go to the bathroom.
Is it
That's
mostly your father or?
No, actually, I would say my mom was the one that was saying that more.
Okay. When you get older, there's a lot of other things that are happening in your body versus just the sleep.
Right.
So, is this something she spoke to her physician about?
Yeah,
Did he give her anything for it?
sleeping pills.
He didn't give her anything for the urination specifically?
No. She takes a water pill for her cholesterol or whatever it is, right? So she's constantly having that issue, but like at night it just seems to be worse. And it doesn't matter if she stops drinking 3 or 4 hours before. So I don't know if that's specific to her, but it's,
She's taking a water pill.
that's probably.
She's in that situation where she's gonna have to urinate.
Okay.
And she wakes up at what time? and everything to do so?
She's like every 2 hours she's waking up to go puke.
She should mention that to her doctor.
Okay.
To see if there's something they can adjust or something they can give her. They might say like that. I'm sorry, that's just how it is because she's taking the water pill for her hypertension.
Okay, yeah.
But it's definitely something she needs to speak to her physician about
Okay.
because
There could be a way to fix that. It's
it
not
could
just.
be. But how old is she?
She's 72.
It falls into all the other
Yeah.
healthy habits, right?
Yeah.
Like less salt in the diet, we'll need less water pills, exercising more, even if it's just a walk.
Okay.
Caffeine, which
Caffeine, yeah.
stimulates.
Less diuretics.
Less diuretics, especially even if it's decaffeinated, doesn't matter, kind of thing, right? They
Yeah.
drink decaf coffee.
Still a diuretic.
Yeah. Okay. Got you. Thank you.
I never know how much I'm going to sleep at night.
How much do you get under the counter?
Anywhere from 3 to 7 hours usually.
And where do you feel good at? Where do you feel like you've actually slept? Like when you get 7 hours, you feel that's a good day?
7 hours is pretty good.
It's pretty
But
good.
I wouldn't say that. I've never been someone who could sleep for a long period of time.
Okay. It's
3
like
hours
once
is clearly not enough. I have no trouble falling asleep whatsoever, ever.
Okay.
There's no electronics in my bedroom whatsoever, and it's just me. I usually go to sleep quite early,
What time?
way before my wife does, usually by 10. But I'm also up pretty early. So like this morning, I intended to sleep until 5:30, but I was up the first time round probably at 2 or 3, and then eventually it was 5, and I decided, well, definitely not sleeping anymore. So
You're gonna be up for the day.
just go.
Yeah.
Right.
When you wake up, do you stay in your bed or do you walk around and do
I usually
something?
stay in my bed.
Okay.
And there are some occasions when I'm able to fall back asleep, but it's pretty rare.
Okay, and you're just lying there for 10, 20 minutes before you decide, I'm up. That's it. Something you could try is changing your environment for that moment. Let's say you get up at 2, you're like, okay, I'm awake. Take out a book, read it. Go into another area of the house. I don't know, drink some water in the kitchen. Try to go back afterward. If you stay in the same environment, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, just ruminating about the fact that you can't sleep, it's going to become harder the next time around. So that might be something you can try, just to see if that kind of clicks you back when you come back to the room to fall asleep. And like I understand, like most people, it's hard to get 7 hours or 8 hours every single day of the week, especially when you have busy schedules. You got deadlines, you got to be somewhere, you got to do something. But this is more like on the, the grand scale. Try your best to get where you feel comfortable. That's those 7 hours. Okay. And it's also like I was explaining about the negative thoughts. Like if you don't get your 7 hours, it's okay. It's not the end of it all. It doesn't mean you can't sleep and you're like, I'll never have a good sleep because I can't get my 7 hours. Get what you can. But also realize that maybe you can change your environment and then try again. It's just trying to find that what works for you in order to get you to fall asleep and stay asleep.
So I've actually not had coffee in 4 days.
You have not?
Not.
Okay.
Which for me is really good.
Usually you're
I'm really proud of myself, actually.
That's good.
However, however, to me, coffee is a crutch. It's what I drink when I really feel like I can't get through the day unless I have a cup of coffee.
And how, like you're
So
drinking
the last
it
4
all
days it's
day
been good.
throughout the day, right?
Sorry?
You're drinking it throughout the day?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm a sleep tech. That means I work nights. I also rely on the gloriousness that is coffee because if not, sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm like starting to fall. It's really at night when you're about to fall asleep. If you've had your last cup of coffee at say 5 o'clock at night, are you able to sleep at 10? Like you said, you could sleep at any point, but then you're waking up at 2.
Maybe I will. I don't know.
Yeah. And like this past 4 days, have you been able to sleep more longer, like chunks of hours together, or it's still about the same?
I think it's about the same.
You spoke to a physician about possibly having a sleep disorder. That's something you need to rule out, right? There might be something happening. It could be leg movements, it could be chin movements, it could be apnea itself, there could be other sleep disorders at play. And that's something you need to rule out. Is it your
environment?
Is it your environment? Is it what you're doing, how you're getting to sleep, or is it completely physical? And it's just you're getting knocked out of sleep because your body is forcing you awake. It might not be even something you realize. Like a lot of people who have apnea don't know until it's like years later. They're like, oh, I'm out of breath. Oh, I have dry mouth. I have a massive headache. What do I do? Then they see a doctor. They see me. And they get treated.
Are there foods to avoid before bed other than coffee?
I'll put chocolate in there as well. Like anything high sugar content. Yes. Chocolate also is a bit of a stimulant. So, again, if you're sensitive to that, avoid those types of food. Anything that might also cause GERD, like reflux.
Like dairy,
Yeah.
spicy foods.
In your first few charts, you showed 4 sleep cycles during the course of the night. So my question would be, for example, Terry's parents, where they're getting 1 cycle and then getting up to get prepared for bed. Is there an equivalency of disruptive sleep where you still get your cycles? In other words, if you sleep a disrupted 10 hours, where you're doing your 90-minute cycle, you're up for 20 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, another 90 minutes of a cycle, is that an equivalency of a good night's sleep? If you sleep 10 hours and you net 7, you know what I'm asking you.
Yeah, exactly. That brings you into like a polyphasic sleeping pattern. What that means, let's say, like you're saying, or like your parents, they got this done from 9 to 11:30. They were up for a bit, then they got these sections done. Or let's say they wake up again at 3. They don't go to back to bed until like 5:30. We've broken up with a few hours. That, if that's your constant sleep,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the ideal. From what we look at here.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say that a lot of people don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people that try to do micro sleeps throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll sleep just the one cycle, from let's say in the afternoon, 1 to 2:30. Then they try to stay up for longer. So it ends up they only, instead of getting like 7 hours consecutive or 8 hours consecutive, they end up getting only like 5 hours broken out throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
They do this, because they need to work, they need to get something done,
Mm-hmm.
to get some sleep. Those types of broken up sleep patterns I find are okay in small segments. If you're doing that all the time, like we're talking about years
Mhm.
of poor sleep, you're gonna have those effects, poor concentration, memory issues. Waking is a possibility with sleep deprivation. Once in a while is okay for most people. But constantly, like, if we think about the history of sleep, I don't know if any of you really know about it, we used to sleep as primates in broken sleep. We would wake up during the night, and even more, like even in the 1800s, we'd wake up during the night, and we'd have our second sleep later on. So we'd get stuff done during the night, whatever you want, any kind of leisurely activity you wanted to do, you could do. So this was often broken up. They'd have this section, broke it up for a few hours, and then have the second section. With the advent of lighting, we've gone to a more monophasic sleeping. It's called the monophasic sleeping pattern.
Right.
Which is better? I wasn't around in the 1800s, I can't really tell.
Well, lifespan was shorter.
Lifespan was shorter. But you might still have people doing that today. Like we have still siestas in like Latin countries
Mhm.
where they'll wake up early, but then they'll go to bed at 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So they got like a chunk of their sleep done. I don't have the information on that, so I can't tell you if during the night they only have 3 cycles, and then we cycle another one in the afternoon. But cultures sleep differently. In our culture, and scientifically, we say this is normal.
That's the norm.
Do I say that that's for every single person?
Right.
Of course not. There are people who do fine in broken sleep. But this is what you mainly want to see when
And
you're looking at a sleep study.
which part of the sleep cycle does meditation mirror?
This here. This is called stage 3. It's also
Mm.
called delta sleep.
Mm-hmm.
In meditation, you can see delta waves.
So, if you meditate on a regular basis and are able to achieve that delta state, you can actually replace your hours of sleep?
I'm going to say no to that, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's something that I've never read studies on that specifically, but I have heard that when you go into a deep meditative state, it looks like stage 3. Does that replace? I don't have the information for that at all. I would say it's definitely beneficial. It's good to have delta waves occurring. It's restorative.
In the 90-minute cycle, the delta waves represent what period of time?
We're looking at about, I think, over your whole night, about 25% of it.
Okay.
But it's a big chunk. And then you also have stage 2. You have
REM
more-
is right,
REM is this
right
one.
at the beginning.
It's at the end. So you usually go into your deep sleep and then you go into REM.
Okay.
But you go REM, stage 2. Sometimes you go directly into REM. So this is what you would see.
People who take a nap
Mm-hmm.
and intend to take 20 minutes, but it ends up being a 4-hour nap, is that indicative of a problem? Like if you're incapable of power napping?
Like you want to sleep only 20 minutes, but it's always 4 hours.
Yeah.
It could be. That means it's hypersomnia. So hypersomnia is also that kind of like you need to sleep all the time is indicative of having sleep apnea as it could.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a good point. Like, so I have zero issue sleeping. I can sleep anywhere, anytime, and
Yeah, me
sometimes it's a
too.
problem. Like,
Do you at the wheel or?
no, God, no. I mean, like, it's not like serious at all. I could fall asleep though. If I'm horizontal, I'm asleep. And if I'm watching a movie, I often fall asleep. I'd sort of zone out, so I don't have an issue falling asleep. In fact, if I'm like upset or something's bothering me, the first thing I want to do is go to sleep. So sleep is like I don't know if that's, like, to your point, could that also be hyposomnia or a version of sleep apnea if sleep becomes something that you feel like you need to do to soothe?
How's your nighttime sleep though? Is your nighttime sleep disrupted at all? Or you sleep you sleep your whole night?
Yeah, I'd say I get a solid 7 hours of sleep. Okay.
That it depends. Sometimes hypersomnia could just be idiopathic, which just means it happens, which I know is not a satisfactory thing to say. It's just like you sleep a lot. That's it. You might be a person who just sleeps a lot and you need that extra sleep. It could be indicative of something like sleep apnea. So it's something you want. Sleep apnea is that complete stop of your respiration. But there's also something called upper airway resistance,
Okay.
which is like a very mild kind of breathing issue. So mild in the sense that your oxygen levels don't dip, but it's significant enough that it wakes your brain up. So it could be that you're sleeping your whole night, but it's fragmented. It doesn't look like this.
And what are the signs that tell me that I might have that problem? If I'm snoring, if my
Snoring could
boyfriend
be
says
one.
that I snore,
When you wake up in the morning, do you feel
super groggy, like shoot me in the face, I do not want to get up.
okay? Do you have any dry mouth, headache issues?
No,
Just the grogginess?
just really like, someone please take care of my dog because I just don't want to have to do that.
Is your concentration and your memory?
In the morning?
In general, I guess, or in the morning.
Oh, not bad, not bad, not bad. I wouldn't say it's that bad.
Okay. I would speak to your physician. They will look more into your family history to see if there's any links to anyone in your family as
Okay.
well. I don't know if you have a physician that you see on the regular.
Not yet. But how does it work with you guys? We have to be diagnosed first before we come to you?
No, essentially you need your doctor to kind of say, yeah, you need a sleep study.
Okay, that's all.
And then
Got it.
once we have that kind of like prescription sleep study, then you would do the sleep study. We collect all that kind of like squiggly lines. We create a report which has this kind of information, but
Okay.
much more. We send it to our sleep doctor, and which is Dr. Smith, and which
Right, Terry Smith.
there we go.
Right, got it.
So he interprets the study and he makes a
Okay.
diagnosis from that.
It's,
So-
it's interesting from an insurance perspective because the sleep studies and the diagnosis are not covered by group plans. But if you're diagnosed with sleep apnea and you need
The
CPAP,
mask.
it is covered.
Okay.
So it's kind of
It's
ironic.
it sucks for a lot of people,
Yeah, it
unfortunately.
doesn't, but yeah.
How much of an investment is the sleep test?
The sleep test is $1,500.
So that's significant.
It's
Yeah.
significant of nothing.
Okay.
I find it interesting because not sleeping well causes so many health problems. So many like heart disease, diabetes, like so many health problems, and increases stress levels, which has been linked to a lot of different illnesses. So it's interesting because I know like one person who's been waiting for 2 years to get into a hospital, and that's a long time. A lot can happen in 2 years when you're not sleeping more than an hour a night. Like it becomes dangerous. Like there's somebody I'm trying to send you who falls asleep while driving, falls asleep while working, falls asleep while.
What's that called again? Narcolepsy. Yes.
Yeah. If they're kind of falling down, passed out, if sleep
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the system is what it is. Unfortunately, it's
Yeah.
overworked. We don't have that many sleep clinics in the hospitals. I know the big hospitals have, well, not every hospital has, or if they have a type of study that just looks at your respiration, which is fine for someone who has, you're a 50-year-old male, heavy snoring, you have a, big belly, big neck. more than likely you have sleep apnea.
Yeah, it's a
We'll
fairly
run a
easy-
study that
Mhm.
just looks at your breathing. But a lot of people fall in the more moderate to mild category, and you need something like this to really look at the fragmentation of your sleep. Because if you look at just the respiratory, it'd be like, okay, your oxygen levels are fine. You had a bit of something happening, but maybe not enough, like you were saying for the insurance company, to say
Mhm.
you have sleep apnea. When I try to send people to several hospitals, especially if they tell me they don't have the funds, it's understandable. But we also offer Medicare, which is a type of financing, thank you, for the studies as well. At a low interest rate, I don't remember the interest rate, but.
And are you guys part of a hospital or no?
No, we're part of Concordia University,
Concordia University.
so we do their research studies there. That's an option for some people as well. We find that they fit in those parameters, they can do studies there as well.
What about the home study?
The home study, I perform the same type of study where I look at the brainwaves in people's home, and I
Mhm.
also do the one that looks at the apnea.
And is that $1,500?
No,
is
at
it?
home it's less
Okay.
because I'm not there.
Okay.
So it's $12.50 for at home, but what the benefit you get in lab is you have a technologist, namely me, watching you to make sure everything's recording correctly and making observations on the fly.
It's just hard to sleep in
Totally.
a lab setting.
That's one of the reasons we do it in people's homes as well.
Yeah.
And in here.
I mean, to me, this is a lab setting, but
Yeah.
So you can actually go to a person's home, stay with them all throughout the night.
I can, but then like I have done that in people's homes. But usually what I do is I hook you up,
Mhm.
set it up,
Oh.
and then come the next day to pick it up.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. That's actually, that sounds super easy, not difficult.
Like I've had some people like, issues that they're really concerned, they need someone to observe.
Yeah.
Then yeah, of course I'll make the concession, I'll come to your home, especially people with like low mobility. I'm not gonna say you have to come to a setting, a lab setting. Like we try to make it possible for everybody to get a sleep study.
Reminds me of the movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Like my favorite movie I've ever.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
But where they go in and well, Jim Carrey's asleep in this.
That was a great movie.
Oh, it's such a and they erase his memories. Yeah,
Wow.
it's very interesting. Okay, so this is.
I don't have that ability.
No. Darn. As soon as
Darn.
you do, let me know. No, this is great.
Mm.
That's essentially it about sleep. Of course, there's always more. I can always go on